Let's freaking go. We are back, Arkansas Razorback fans. I appreciate all the love from the Omega Blake Film Study. And you see the schedule right there. I need you to comment below. What will Arkansas's schedule look like in about a few months? Will it be at least a bowl season? So if you're watching this live, you see the poll question attached to this video today. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. We're going to run through the schedule. We're also going to talk about some things that I've been hearing from camp. I am not John Neighbors. I'm not Oliver McGee or Trey Biddy, but I am here to give you the best objective coverage of the team that I possibly can provide. I have a lot of sweat equity built into this Razorback football program. If you are new to the channel and you're new to my style of commentary, you know it's a little bit different considering I did go to high school in the state of Arkansas, and I grew up, I pretty much grew up in this state, even though everything else about me is from Louisiana. So let me start with a few things that I like about Arkansas going into next season, things that I consider to be elite or potentially elite. And then we'll get into a few negatives after watching them on film. All right. So I want to actually start with something that I like and I don't like about this team, and it's the transfers, right? Arkansas was not a talented team overall last year. They weren't, to me, like a Chad Morris level talent team or John L. Smith or whoever, but the talent was fine. It wasn't great, though. And the fact that there were quite a few transfers, even some of your decent players, like a guy like Isaiah Satania, who decided to go elsewhere. I would say, though, as far as that is concerned, I wouldn't worry too much about what I would consider to be replaceable assets, like an Isaiah Satania, right? He's a good SEC level player, but you can do better. The only replaceable assets you should ever be worried about are positions in the trenches, right? There's always going to be wide receivers that you could go out there and find, right? I've said plenty of times over this offseason how concerned I am over the Arkansas wide receivers. After doing that Omega Blake film study and also just watching everything unfold at practice and speaking to a few Razorback sources, I am starting to feel better about this wide receiver room. And I then asked myself, hey, there's plenty of people that had the same style of commentary, talking about guys like Andrew Armstrong and a guy like Isaac Tesla. Both of them came from not just non-power fours. I mean, we're talking even below that. Texas A&M Commerce and Hillsdale, and they came in and played at an extremely high level. They both exceeded expectations, with one of them being a third-round pick. So for me, I am of the belief that a guy like Omega Blake, a guy like Raylan Sharp can come in and potentially do something this year for the Arkansas Razorback teams, okay? So I do like that. Now, the second thing that I do like as far as the transfers are concerned is Arkansas, it's just been your biggest problem. You've never been able to field a good secondary, which is weird considering there have been really good defensive backs that have played at the university, right? You've had Tony Bua, Ken Hamlin, Steve Atwater, who's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And then, of course, Batman Carroll. The list goes on and on. I know a lot of you are really excited that the Hudson Clark era is over. But, your whole secondary is just transfers now. That's probably my weakest bit of knowledge on this team. So it does excite me. But at the same time, it also makes me feel like, whoa. It's probably still not going to be good. It's probably not. Okay. Now, here's some things I don't like. And I'm going to give you one more thing I do like before we go game by game. The coaching. I, like many of you, did not want Sam Pittman to stay another year. And then at the same time, I do like the coordinator pairing. I like that we're getting another year of T. Will and Bobby P. at the helm. I would consider Bobby definitely in the top half of SEC play callers, and I would consider T. Will probably in close to that range. He would probably be in that 7, 8, 9, 10 range. He's not bad. Now he's going to give you a stinker. That Ole Miss game was deplorable, but then again, that was Ole Miss's offense. So I am glad that you're able to run it back with, to me, the best coordinator pairing that Arkansas has had. I do like this duo even more than Kendall Briles and Barry Odom, who I liked very much. So it is a negative, obviously, with Sam running the show, but in essence, when the season really starts, it's your coordinators calling the shots. So I do like that I get another year of this pairing, because returners of play calling pairings is somewhat rare. Even though this year there are a lot of play calling pairs that are returning. Even if you look at a school like Alabama, the guy that they really wanted is back now from the NFL. So that would be a bigger advantage, I would say, in most seasons, but there are a lot of schools that are returning their coordinators as well. So we'll see what happens there. Now, before we get into all of that, let's check in at some of our comments here. Let's go, Cliff. Power Hour SEC. Let's effing go. Cliff from my Power Hour LSU channel. He also loves the Power Hour NFL channel as well, so we really appreciate that. Mr. Bloodline says, how many wins does Power Hour, which is, I'm guessing is me, how many wins do I think Arkansas will have this year? Okay. So the way I like to do season predictions is I like to start with a baseline. What do I think is the bare minimum amount of wins that I could see Arkansas have next year? In other words, what is the true floor of the team? So let's pull up an Arkansas schedule, and we're actually going to go really deep on this. Let's start with the actual raw schedule itself. And I'm going to give you something that helps me. As some of my super diehard Power Hour SEC viewers know, we have been really good at win totals on Power Hour SEC. And I'm going to give you a little bit of advice on what has helped me with my win total predictions in the SEC. It's not anything complicated, but we'll get to that in just a second. Arkansas around a 5.5 win total team. I've always loved that number, 5.5, because 5.5 is kind of like 2.5 and 3.5 when it comes to a point spread. And that 5.5 is a key number because you have to get to 6-6 to play in a bowl game. And whether or not players are still locked in for bowl games, it is something for them to look forward to, whether or not half your team opts out and decides to go elsewhere. So let's start with the 2025 Arkansas schedule. I do think Arkansas starts off 2-0. I see Alabama A&M as a win, even though this has been one of the better programs, in the HBCU world. But Alabama A&M is a W. This team, though, shouldn't be as bad as UAPB. And one thing I will say about Alabama A&M is I do think the UAPB game was a net negative for Arkansas last year. Now, why is that? Well, it's simple. Because UAPB was so bad, I do think it helped a guy like Taylor Green get into bad habits. And this was probably one of the hotter takes that I had, but the play that got him on the Pat McAfee show, the play that got him all over SportsCenter was actually a negative graded play for me. And I said it during the live stream, or I said it during the film study, and I got absolutely roasted. Hate mail. I found somebody actually found my email, and it's simple. It's powerhoursec@gmail.com. But they're able to find it, and I got absolutely destroyed for it. Okay. But if you want to go see that, you can go check it out for yourself. And I think that hurt Arkansas in the long run. So you do want UAPB. I mean, I say UAPB. You want Alabama A&M to give you somewhat of a game, right? You don't want to just be a walkover because UAPB was just so bad, even for a non-Power 4 team. We then get to Arkansas State, the Red Wolves, War Memorial Stadium. You have a road game here, and I say it's a road game. It is a neutral site game, but I am worried about this game, considering that I could see a world where there's more. I wouldn't say more. There's going to be more Razorback fans than Arkansas State fans. But if you're not a super diehard Arkansas fan or you don't have extensive knowledge of Arkansas football, you understand how big of a cluster frick this Arkansas State game is going to be on so many different levels. And this more so has to do with the history of Arkansas State and the history of the Arkansas Razorbacks. And more importantly, to me, the history of War Memorial Stadium and their very complicated relationship with the Arkansas Razorback football program. Look, I would consider myself to be a somewhat expert on this topic, but someone like David Basil would be the go-to on a topic as complicated as the War Memorial Stadium debate. I do like the fact that it's not week one, but I also don't like the fact that it's not week one. I'll tell you why in just a moment. I do think Arkansas will go 2-0. I do think that they win this game versus Arkansas State. I understand that it is interesting that you are going up against an SEC coach in Butch Jones. Arkansas State has always been respectable. Arkansas State, of the non-Power Fours, has definitely had the best run of head coaches, maybe outside of a school like Boise State, where they've had Brian Harsin, Chris Peterson, who have gone on to be, Peterson's gone on to be a great Power 4 coach. But Arkansas State, they're always a well-coached team. This game also means a gazillion times more for Arkansas State and their program. This is a game that they have circled on the calendar, where for Arkansas, this is just another game. So it's kind of the opposite way that Arkansas plays LSU every year. So for me, I do think Arkansas takes care of business, but you do worry about the bulletin board aspect of this game. Okay. Now, before we get into the meat here, let's take a few more of your comments. UAPB was indeed very bad. Now, we'll say, here's what I'll say about UAPB. The Golden Line Marching Band, baby. Are they the best in the state of Arkansas? I've had teammates and friends play for UAPB, so you won't hear me slander them anymore, but they were indeed bad. And you continue on here. This was indeed A-State's Super Bowl in a major way, in an absolutely major way. We continue. So this, to me, would infuriate me if I was an Arkansas Razorback fan. So I said a minute ago that I was going to give you one major tip that will help you size up the SEC. Now, I don't do this for every conference. I do mostly focus on the Southeastern Conference. But what I want you to do is to take a look at this. This is a schedule matrix that I printed off on fbschedules.com. They do it every year. And I highly recommend you do this and print it off and put it on your desk and just go game by game, picking who you think is going to win and who you think is going to lose. And don't just start from top to bottom, because you could have some survivorship bias go on. You want to start, and you just want to pick like random teams to go through win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. Because what you begin to see is how inequitable every SEC schedule actually is. And you wonder why I'm a big 9-game conference guy, even though a 9-game conference schedule would absolutely dismantle a program like Arkansas. At this point, I'd say, how could it be any worse as an Arkansas Razorback fan? You've got to look at these schedules and then say, what the hell? And if I was Arkansas, and I understand There's probably not a more unpopular athletic director in the SEC right now than Hunter Yurachek. But whether Hunter still has this job a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, I would never schedule Memphis. Ever, never, ever schedule this Memphis game. You should never do this. It's one of the worst games I've ever seen an SEC team schedule. Okay. We're going to talk about Ole Miss first, but the Memphis game is just downright idiotic. I'll just say it. I just don't think you should ever do that. Because this to me is so fascinating. You take a look since 2022. There's only been one other team that has played 4 of their first 6 games away from Fayetteville since 2022, like Arkansas is doing here. Now, you do get a bye week before you go on the road and play Tennessee. Do you know who the other team that in their first 6 weeks played 4 games away from their actual home field? Can you name that team? I'll give it to you now. It's the Arkansas Razorbacks. They are the only team in the SEC that does this, that schedules like this. What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Here's the thing that we don't do as football fans. It's how I look at things. Because what I would tell Arkansas and what I would tell Hunter Yurachek is, yes, I actually personally like the fact that you schedule sexy games like a road game versus Memphis, because it is sexy. Memphis is a really good program for their caliber of program. You aren't a great SEC football program, right? That's cool. I like the fact that you challenge yourselves. But earmuffs, for those that don't like cuss words, nobody gives a shit. Nobody. I wish they did. But nobody gives a shit that your schedule is harder than Missouri's. Missouri's schedules soft-ass openers. They stay at home. They make sure they're at home early in the season. Now, I don't like talking about this topic anymore because I spent way too long researching this for 0 views, basically. But I spent 2 months studying Mark Stoops at Kentucky. And boy, Mark Stoops and Mitch Barnhart, they scheduled soft for so long. You want to know why Mark Stoops, everyone thinks he's a good coach when he's not really that good at all, and it's never really been that good? It's because they scheduled genius. They had genius scheduling techniques. Why are you scheduling home and homes with Memphis? They have mostly been good. You should never do that. And then you want to schedule Notre Dame? Now that's good. Okay? That's really good. That's good for your program's history because, well, one of the biggest, iconic Arkansas Razorback coaches ever, even though it was kind of sort of short-lived, is Lou Holtz. I had friends that I still have friends to this day that played for Lou Holtz, right? That is awesome that you're scheduling Notre Dame, but don't schedule Memphis. No. Schedule Norfolk State. Let's get to a few here. Memphis isn't beating Arkansas. Book that. Tonka Todd. For my experience as a retired coach, Arkansas doesn't have the talent to win more than 5 if they're lucky. So I've gone on my scheduling rant. Once again, go look at Missouri's schedule. Schedule soft and schedule the games in Fayetteville. I have long said this. What were the last great Arkansas teams? Well, you scheduled a school like Cincinnati. Well, guess what? You played that game at home, that season opening game at home. You started off the season with 3 home games, pure home games. And you had one of your best seasons, at least in the past decade. Schedule soft. Nobody gives a shit. I do. I care. But in the end, you know who who actually makes you big money in life? It's neutrals and casuals, not the super diehards that love Arkansas football so much that you would watch my stream. You're a diehard, right? Most people are not diehards. They're casuals that just want to go see their team win. They don't give a damn who you play. We continue. You lose at Ole Miss. I have you winning at Memphis, and then I have you losing to Notre Dame. 3-2 on the year. Now, we continue. You get a bye week. Taylor Green, after getting sacked a few times by the Fighting Irish, dust off his shoulders, and now we get ready for Tennessee. So, obviously, this is a revenge game for Arkansas. I kind of like the spot for Arkansas. Both teams will be coming off a bye, but I will go with Tennessee winning. Now, this will be the most shocking game for me. I do have Arkansas beating Texas A&M this year for a few reasons. Number one, we go back to the schedule matrix here. Texas A&M will be playing 4 SEC teams in a row, and Arkansas will be the front end of a back-to-back road game scenario, with Texas A&M in a look-ahead spot versus LSU in Tiger Stadium. I like this spot for Arkansas. I normally don't like playing teams that have to play back-to-back really mobile quarterbacks. So DJ Lagway can run. It's not what he's excellent at, but he definitely can run. And then you go on the road to play Taylor Green again. This is one of Arkansas's more locked-in games on the schedule. You can also make a very strong case outside of Notre Dame. This is Arkansas's most marquee home game on the schedule. So Arkansas will be more motivated to play this game. I could see Texas A&M very well being unbeaten going into this Arkansas game. I don't have it that way. I actually have Texas A&M with just 1 loss versus Notre Dame going into this game. So it's very interesting. I do, and we know Arkansas every year, they're going to find a way to win a game or at least be very competitive in a game that they had no business being competitive in. And obviously last year that was at Texas. And then of course you beat Tennessee at home. And DWR is a very underrated home environment. Very underrated. And by the way, this could be one of the few night games you play with the option of it being an afternoon or night kickoff. So I actually do have Arkansas winning this game versus Texas A&M. And even though I think Texas A&M is a solid team, I'm also going with Arkansas to beat Auburn the next week. And then I have Arkansas beating Mississippi State. I don't even think Arkansas is that good. So I probably need to go change my season projections. Actually, I don't have Arkansas beating Auburn. I had a mistake here. I have Arkansas losing to Auburn. I'm a little bit higher than most on Auburn. Okay. So we then go to the final few weeks. Arkansas back-to-back road games versus LSU and Texas. And then, of course, you have Arkansas and Missouri. Okay? So what do we do now? A lousy effort. What do we make? What do we make of this schedule? Well, right now, I have Arkansas at 6-6. I do. Losses at Ole Miss, Notre Dame, at Tennessee, Auburn, LSU, and Texas. I have Arkansas going to a bowl game. And why do I have Arkansas going to this bowl game? I like Quincy Rhodes more than most. I think he's a little underrated because it is a really good edge year in the SEC. Dylan Stewart, obviously Colin Simmons, those are your headliners, but they're only year two guys. I think Quincy Rhodes is flying way too under the radar. And then, of course, you have guys like, Jack Pyburn and Patrick Payton at LSU. But who is it? Kedrick Falk at Auburn. So I'm talking myself into Arkansas being a 6-6 team, even though I've been feeling more of a 5-7 type of year. The thing that I keep going back to, though, was how explosive Arkansas's offense was last year. And this was with them missing receivers that were open quite a bit. So with me liking more of these Arkansas wide receivers after watching them for a good bit this weekend, I'm talking myself into this team. I can't believe I'm saying it. I cannot freaking believe I'm saying this. Okay. Let's go to WPS ATX 50. So I'm guessing you're an Arkansas fan in Austin, Texas. There you go. Ole Miss is breaking in a new QB. Tennessee is breaking in a new QB. Isn't Memphis breaking in a new QB too? Yeah. I could be wrong. I like that for Arkansas. Yeah, that's a good point. You know what I will say as far as Arkansas is concerned, you pull up their schedule yet again. Yeah, you got to play Garrett Nussmeier, who absolutely ripped you to shreds last year. But Arkansas did get an overall favorable quarterback schedule. And that was going to be my final thing. And it's a good point from WPS ATX. Let's go one step further. Austin Simmons still getting his bearings early in the year. Notre Dame probably starting Lloyd Carr's grandson this year. Tennessee, Joey Aguilar. Texas A&M. I think Marcel Reed is very overvalued going into this next year. I think of the quarterbacks that are returning and getting some hype, this might really hurt me because they do bring in Casey Concepcion from NC State, and he's a good football player. I do think he's overvalued. Jackson Arnold, do I need to go any further? Mississippi State with Blake Shapen. And then you have LSU with Garrett Nussmeier and Arch Manning. That's going to be brutal back-to-back. And then you have a first-year starter in Bo Perbula at Missouri. So it does set up nicely as far as a QB battle is concerned. Taylon Green's going to be the more experienced quarterback in every single matchup he plays this year than basically everybody he will play this year at quarterback. You know, Shapen obviously is older, but he basically missed all of last year. Aguilar has played a lot, but it is something, right? It is something. So there you go. Now, I want to talk about hot seats. Which coaches are on the hot seat this year? And is Sam Pittman at the top of that list? Okay. Who will it be? Hot seat season. Is Sam's seat the hottest? Sam's seat the hottest? That's coming up. Dental health is wealth, and our friends at Sequoia Dental are looking to help you feel like a more confident person. Dr. William Wilson and his team of experts do everything in their power to make this experience for you not only comfortable, but fun. Yes, take a look at this after and before photo. That guy definitely got himself a date thanks to Sequoia Dental. From teeth whitening to cosmetic surgery to, guess what? Botox. Yes, they do Botox. Call my friend Dr. William Wilson today, or just go book your appointment at sequoiadental.com. All righty. These are my SEC hot seat coaching tiers. I do think Sam Pittman is on a different level than basically everybody else. I really do think so. But I did find it interesting, and I have a friend in the industry who actually just got out of the media industry, and Dave Shoemate. And he said, and I asked Sam Pittman about this. I won't play the clip because it was wild. Sam, what's it like battling in the SEC when you have literally some of the least amount of resources at everybody in the SEC, including staffers, NIL, all that stuff? And then I read a report earlier today on Whole Hog Sports basically saying the same thing. So for me, I guess if you were to ask me, should Arkansas move on from Sam Pittman, what is it going to take for Sam to be able to retain his job? Well, I don't know. Obviously, if you go 6-6, he's got to keep his job next year, as sad as that sounds. But I really, really, really don't know how Arkansas fans feel about this. The name Rhett Lashley has surfaced because of his Arkansas ties. I don't know if I'm leaving SMU for Arkansas. I just don't know. And that's no disrespect to Arkansas. I've just always been really high on SMU as a program. But is Sam Pittman's seat the hottest? Looking back, I didn't order this the way that I wanted to. I just kind of put the four names I think that are separate from the rest of the SEC. I would say Hugh Freeze is probably the hottest seat, and then Brent Venables, and then Sam Pittman, and then Billy Napier, because Napier is really going to have a good selling point going into next year with the year 3 of Lagway. Venables will have a big selling point with the year 2 of a guy like John Mateer, if you will. What does Sam Pittman have to sell going into next year? Not really anything, right? He had the selling point of, hey, we're returning our quarterback and both our coordinators. So, I do think you could make a very strong case that Sam's seat is the absolute hottest. But I also understand that Arkansas really doesn't want to spend, right? They not in a buyout spot. I don't think Mark Stoops' seat is hot because they don't want to pay the buyout. And Kentucky's already let it be known that they're going to spend their money more in basketball than most SEC schools will spend in basketball. I would also say from an LSU perspective, there's no coach under more pressure to win than Brian Kelly. But Brian Kelly's seat is not hot because the 2026 recruiting class for LSU looks amazing, and his buyout is just astronomical. And so is Mark Stoops at this point. But I said it at the time that the Mark Stoops contract was one of the worst signed contracts I've ever seen. And I understand Kentucky was put in a really bad spot, but, I would have never signed that deal. But you let me know. Type Y for yes, type in for no in the chat, or if you're listening to this down the road. Does Sam Pittman have the hottest seat in the SEC? Let's go to Mr. Bloodline. Oklahoma State should have been a damn win. What a depressing loss. Yeah. But, and this sounds like salt in the wounds, but the group chat I'm actually the most active in, as far as like lifelong friends, college buddies, is actually a group chat with, like I think there's like 15 buddies in there. 10 of them graduated from Arkansas. So I talk to Arkansas diehards daily, graduates. You guys know the drill. Your heart is going to get ripped out more than it's going to be fulfilled. Here's my thing. When Nico decided to run out of bounds inexplicably on a do-or-die play when there was a receiver potentially open in the back of the end zone, that was one of the more shocking endings, because the most Arkansas ending would have been Tennessee winning on the final play. But, you know, if it was any other Arkansas, and I know you guys are going to turn it off after this, that's fine. But if any other program not named Arkansas would have been playing in the College World Series semifinals, you would have had a 6-4-3 double play, and you're playing a do-or-die game versus LSU to go to the College World Series final. If it was any other program other than Arkansas, you're coasting into a victory over Texas Tech when you're up by 15 or whatever it was. If it was any other program not named Arkansas, you wouldn't have outgained Oklahoma State by 300 yards and still managed to lose the game. By the way, Oklahoma State ended up being like a 4-win team. It's not salt and wounds. It's just like, look, this is just the truth. This is what Arkansas sports is. And if you don't believe in sports gods or anything like that, you better believe, because they do exist. Whether or not you want to believe that or not, sports gods exist. And for whatever reason, whether it be some Arkansas legend or whoever decided this, casted a spell over Arkansas. And that's why, you know, and that's just in the past year. This is not including even more painful moments. Now, even though I am very critical of Sam Pittman, and I've said after not this past year's Missouri game, but the Missouri game the year prior, that he should be fired, he's not bad. He's been overall a net positive for the university. But, you know, it is what it is at this point. Okay? Now, here's what we're going to do. We'll take a few more here. Once again, we're going to be live every Monday at 5 p.m. Central. I want this to be something, right? Obviously, a lot of you like the film study reviews, but I feel I am better as a live analyst. I've been doing radio for a gazillion years, YouTube for a gazillion years. I want this to be a hub of Arkansas analysis every Monday at 5 p.m. Central. No guests today. We will have a guest next week. So there you go. Mr. Bloodline says, our hopes and dreams went down with that motorcycle in 2011. Cursed ever since. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You know, we can say, well, Jeff Long should have kept him or whatever. I don't know. I wish I could give you a detailed response. I don't know. I sometimes think about what actually did curse Arkansas. What was it? You know? I don't know. I don't know. Like, by all accounts, like Dave Van Horn is like the most loved SEC coach. Why is he the one that gets this moniker of not being able to win the big one? But the way he has lost these big ones lets you know that there is a real curse. And for some reason, I know a lot of Arkansas fans that are also like Cubs fans. So you've already broken one curse. You need to break another. You know, we got a few people back from last year's stream. There you go. I have 16 YouTube viewers right now. And it says 65 total viewers. I don't think that's accurate, but it's all good. But people remember what other people said on here last year. Now, I'm going to ask you Arkansas fans, what do I need to do to generate, well, like, is there a guest you would like to see? Is there anything that you would want me to do differently on the live shows moving forward? Because I want this to be your live show. I want this to be a show for you guys, right? I do not shy away that I am an LSU fan. So there's going to be people that never do tune in because of that, right? And I do cover all the teams in the SEC, all the teams in college football to a lesser extent than the SEC. And obviously I do cover the NFL, but I want to make this show the absolute best show for you. All right. So you guys in the comment, you can always reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram, Card of the Power. And you can also tell me if you want to see another film study. I will say, I will say, Arkansas fans do get messy in the chat. They get messy. And we're not talking about Argentine soccer legends. I'm talking about it gets diabolical. You guys are ready to get after each other's necks. Oh, my God. Yeah, I've gone on WooPig quite a few times. Hog Wild podcast. There's so many Arkansas shows that are out there now. But I would probably, if you named the host, I would probably know them. But yeah, I still talk to I still talk to Oliver regularly. Obviously, we'll get John Neighbors back on here. Again, John's still a friend. Hog's going to surprise some folks. There you go. I used to do a daily Arkansas Razorback show every morning for about 4.5, 5 years. And I didn't have a producer. I had like a board, had a radio board from the 1950s. I'm serious. It didn't even have buttons. It had knobs and levers. The way that you would look at this board, you would think it was a scene from Chernobyl. Like, I'm serious. Like, it was, I had my iCloud wiped a long time ago. That board should go somewhere. I don't know where that board is. It's got radioactive waste on it. Like, they literally pulled that thing from the HBO show and they said, put it in Carter's studio and he can push the knobs and figure it out. But we developed a following, which was crazy because it was like a 2-watt station. And it wouldn't let me stream the show for whatever reason. But we found a way to get it like on Facebook Live, and I loved it. Oh my God, I freaking loved it. And the funniest thing about that show was the wildest thing was being on the air when Malik Monk went to Texas. Oh, I meant Texas. Went to Kentucky. Holy shnik. That was, to me, as far as nastiness is concerned, I think that story angered Arkansas fans more than the Petrino saga. That will always be my hottest take. Always be my hottest take. Bro. Woo. Oh, man. And I lived through both. I was on the air for both. Not on the air in Arkansas for Petrino, but I was doing like radio, SEC radio at the time. The Malik Monk, dude, holy, whew. Jack Burton, Harley Davidson user. Hey, y'all, thanks for sending Brad Spence back home. Hook him. No. Spence was good. Kyle says, Jack, we going to beat that Texas ass this year. I think, to me, the most interesting Arkansas game last year was a Texas game because they gave you so many opportunities to go out there and win that game. And the final play to seal it was a damn Quinn Ewers 5-6 40-yard dash zone read pull. Are you kidding me? Quinn Ewers. Arch Manning can run faster backwards than Quinn Ewers. And a zone read pull from a man who looks like he's running in quicksand ended it. Crazy. Yeah. Could it be Texas? Man, the Missouri game just doesn't count. That game doesn't even exist. Any SEC game, it's the Southeastern Conference. I understand it was football weather. An SEC game should never be played in snow. Get your ass to the Big Ten if it's snowing for an SEC game. That is just inexplicable. That game doesn't count. I give Sam a pass, even though you probably were in a position to win that game. A&M, well, every year Arkansas plays A&M. That's a game that Arkansas should have won, but A&M found a way to win. When it comes to Arkansas and A&M and that story, the thing that's crazy to me is the game that you lost where Williams, the running back who played for the Bills, Jonathan Williams, or was that his name? Whatever. I loved him. I thought he was going to be a way better NFL player. And Dan Skipper had a penalty 20 yards away from Williams, who ran a ball. I think y'all were up 28-14, and Dan Skipper had like a blindside block penalty or whatever it was, 20 yards away from the play. And that's what led to the A&M comeback. I was like, what is this program? I'm sick of folks trash talking this team. I've been labeled in Arkansas just trasher. I just give you the honest truth. That's all I do. I'll take a few more. I didn't think we'd go an hour, but why not? When when you have a massive audience like this one, you got to keep going. I'm kidding. I could do a live stream on Arkansas football with just 2 people in here, but there are a super diehard 17 of you in here. Let's go. Dig deeper. Let's keep it moving. Yeah, hit that like button. It does go a long way. Tonka Todd says, how about I tell you I coached at a higher level than Division I football as a DC? So if you coach at a higher level than Division I football, that means you coach professionally. So technically, that could be Arena League. That could be the NFL. It could be NFL Europe, RIP. It could be the He Hate Me XFL era. It could be a lot of different things. Tonka Todd. So there you go. Is there any other thing? No, there's not anything else Arkansas related. Y'all, I appreciate each and every one of you. Once again, if you want to see the Omega Blake film study, all you got to do is go to the Power Hour SEC page. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas and you want to help feed my family, please go check out Dr. William Wilson and his staff at Sequoia Dental and sequoiadental.com. It is Power Hour SEC. Boom! Or I should call this, since it was mostly Arkansas, Power Hour Hogs. How about that? Boom! And tonight, we are doing chicken enchiladas. Let's go. Let's freaking go.